Welcome to the Suicide Prevention Show. We are waking up the world to the power of positivity, making suicide, especially teen suicide, a thing of the past. And to help us do that, we're going to talk about the antidote for suicide, the prevention, the pure prevention, which is happiness. And we're going to talk about the science of happiness with Kim Serafini. And I am so excited because science is my thing. The neuroscience, the brain science, how this all works behind the eyes and between the ears. So I think you're in for a treat. And that's just the world according to Jackie. So Kim, join me in the studio. There you are. Look at you. All the way from Australia.
Hello, Jackie. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor, privilege, and pleasure. And yes, absolutely. Let's wake things up.
Because for you, it's early morning, right?
It's actually a very pleasant time of the day now for me. Late for you, though.
So the reality is that thanks to the power of this new whole video conversation that we have access to, it could be anywhere in the world.
Correct. And here we are. I'm down under, as they say in Australia, and you're up over, like about as far away as you can be on the East Coast of the United States of America.
I am. So from this massive distance, we've come together to have a conversation on the science of happiness, the power of positivity, because that's where we met. We met in this arena of positive psychology and actuation. And I know that we met because of a gentleman named Bruce Barnes, who happens to be in the audience of this talk, as I'm seeing Katie go, hey, Bruce. Yeah, so, hey, Bruce. Because thanks to him, thanks to Bruce, who was kind enough to be part of the suicide prevention movement on an earlier season, I met you.
We are lucky indeed.
We are. So, Kim, when it comes to happiness and the science of happiness, what does the world need to know?
We need about a day of a really intense, immersive workshop to actually even go close to just scratching the surface there. But suffice to say, I have invented a technology, a software, a platform that facilitates or enables all of us to actually do a little bit of upgrading or reconditioning of ourselves, but in particularly mentally and emotionally. And Jackie, you talked about behind the eyes and between the ears. Well, the truth is what I have created definitely is in the realm of brain training and brain science, neuroscience, as we say, and also in the mind. So in particular, positive psychology. Very much it's about change management. It's about human potential. And ultimately, I actually arrived at this place because I was one of those teens that really struggled with feeling like I'm just not enough and I'll never be good enough, whether that was pretty enough or smart enough or sexy enough or clever enough or good enough or was I ever going to actually be able to survive? I went to a very fancy private girls' boarding school, and quite frankly, there were some pretty nasty young women that I had to hang around with. So, bullying was real. Itchiness, as we called it.
You mean the movies about girls' boarding schools are not fiction?
No, not really. Absolutely.
Got it.
But the funny thing is that we all have a choice as to whether the circumstances or the situations we find ourselves in define us or not. And I became very curious, quite fascinated and interested in the fields of personal development and self-improvement, probably because In the first instance, I had friends who had parents who were open to, whether it was Dale Carnegie's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or it was some of the early work from Anthony Robbins, way back when we used to listen to cassettes. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah,
And
I got some of
I
them.
think that, yeah, of course, like most of us. And so where we're at now is this new understanding, because neuroscientists didn't even believe this 20 years ago. Quite frankly, there weren't the research tools like functional MRI machines that could actually unveil a lot of the truth instead of what were assumptions. I'll give you an example. We used to actually think that you can't, an old dog, new tricks, not possible. We used to think leopard can't change its spots. We used to think that it was actually quite difficult to change our habitual ways of thinking or feeling. We know that our habitual ways of thinking and feeling lock us in and keep us stuck. But we used to believe that change was hard and difficult and took years of psychotherapy, etc., or some other kind of intervention that was shock therapy, some stuff that's really alarming. But that's actually just not even fact anymore. We know neuroplasticity and neurogenesis is actually well understood and defined and studied, which means we know the brain can change. We actually also know that with technology, and in particular exponential technologies or technologies that are in the field of transformation, they actually allow for a new approach that is graceful and joyful and really swift. And so what I've created, it definitely is revolutionary and phenomenal, and it's almost difficult to believe. We can be skeptical and cynical that it does everything all in one place simultaneously. It does a little bit of what meditation promises. It does a little bit of what mindfulness promises. It does a little bit of what therapy promises, but it does it and it's combined and it's all available in one place. And I'll give you an example. Inside our software, what you actually do is you view a presentation that's an audio visual experience and it's emotionally evocative. And you actually watch 1,000 flashcards or slides, pictures, images, and words flow in front of you as if it's actually kind of flooding you. And there are some aspects of what we're talking about that is like visual hypnosis to some extent. But the reality is every single one of those photographs that you're seeing has been very carefully curated, specifically selected for a reason. So if you're feeling anxious or you're feeling a little bit frustrated or angry, if you're feeling like you want to be unkind to yourself or to others, here's just something truly beautiful to understand. If I show you photographs, quite a lot of photographs of people who are smiling in a very genuine and sincere way, the retina in your eyes processes that photograph, what you're seeing, and it sends messages to your mirror neurons, and your mirror neurons in your brain actually, they're the part of you that helps you to learn and to mirror or mimic, and that's why role modeling is so important. But your mirror neurons actually communicate inside your body to your hormonal system, and your endocrine system actually produces different hormones. And so you actually start to produce more serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin and other endorphins and neurotransmitters that help you to actually feel brighter, so that your disposition is actually brighter. You actually start to think about your future being brighter, and you're actually, quite frankly, brighter. We can see things happening inside your brain that make you smarter and more clever. That's the amazing thing. There are lots of impacts or ripple effects just by you seeing a certain number of what science calls a Duchenne smile. But we can actually layer something else on top of that, and we can layer something else on top of that, and we can layer something else on top, which is what we've done. So Duchenne smiles is one category out of 17 where we actually very, very carefully plant particular types or styles of images that we know your body is processing, and it's actually what your eyes are seeing. And this is a little bit different from the way that you're imagining or visualizing, because if I said to you, hey, whatever you do, don't think of a floating helium balloon that's the shape of a pink elephant and it's actually just hovering above you, you can't help but see it.
Yeah, the
right?
elephant in the room, right? This is a tried and true thing. Is the moment the suggestion is there, the image appears.
Correct. And so what a lot of people try to do to help them to calm down and relax and see, what's beautiful in the world, is that they do a lot of audio guided meditations, and they're great. They're great. I'm not saying that they're not, but in this day and age, with the way that the brain actually works, you need something a whole heap snappier than that. And the fastest way for you to have a state change is actually in a visual context that triggers an emotional reaction. So it's not just what's behind your eyes or what's between your ears. I have to tell you, it's so much more important that you understand that none of this can be intellectualized.
Mhm.
You actually have to experience it in your emotions and in your feelings. And unless your actual mind connects with your heart, it's all useless, right? So
Oh yeah,
I
there's
teach
no
the
emotion,
process.
there's no movement.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely right. And so whilst we're showing you particular photographs, we're also showing you particular statements. They're called self-fulfilling prophecies. They're belief statements. And the funny thing is that we end up feeling really terrible about ourselves, usually because of what other people say to us. So if I said, hey, Jackie, you're such a nasty person, what happens is that your brain goes in search of evidence to prove to yourself that you're actually nasty. So the most important words in that statement was you are. And we're actually dealing with identity here. So a lot of the platform, the experience that we are really talking about here, harnesses an area called cognitive dissonance or resonance, about associative conditioning and so forth. There are these areas of science where we've actually taken the greatest findings and we've integrated them into the formula so that it works. And so if you see a statement that says you are amazing or you are incredible, it's more important than a lot of other self-help work that's around I am statements, because the reality is that we actually have identity development and change based upon what comes after you are. So
Oh yeah, because that's what we heard growing up is you are, or you
and the
do,
reality
or
is
you.
that's part of the magic of what we do inside one of these experiences. So one of these audio visual experiences we actually call a session. And inside our platform, they're like tracks or programs, but there's actually nothing like it anywhere on the entire planet. There's nothing else that exists. There are ideas that, that's a bit like, that's a bit like something else. That's a bit like something else. But the reality is that it's not a movie. It's not a slideshow. It's not an audio file. It's not an MP3 or MP4. It's not an ebook or a PDF. It's actually its own proprietary thing called a positive prime session. And it's inside a proprietary player, a specially created delivery process inside a piece of software.
We got two things going on. One is that we've already given everyone in the chat the proprietary software. And so I just want everybody to grab it. And then we have a question, because there are people who already have access to the software and they have a question, because if they've been part of my group, then I've been telling them, what you told me, which is watch it the first time fast, and then let it happen the second time at a slower rate, and your brain will recognize it. It will see it as familiar. So it'll bypass that filtering system. So Michael wants to know, can your brain absorb the statement even if it flashes faster than you can read it all?
Brilliant question, Michael. Thank you. In short, the answer is yes. Would you like to know how or why? Because I'm very happy to give you a very quick explanation.
Cool.
Alrighty. So we absorb around about 11 million bits of information per second from our sensory system. That's also what we're smelling, what we're sensing, what we're, when somebody walks up behind you and you kind of know. We have this incredible way of interacting with our environment. And we have messages that we receive, and there we can receive 11 million bits of messages in any 1 second. However, most of us have been programmed, whether we believe it or not, we have been programmed by society, by the media, by social media, by our friends, by our family and teachers and our guides and mentors and, you know, those people who are leaders in our communities or industries or organizations, et cetera, et cetera. And the reality is we end up developing what's called a reticular activating systems frame or lens. And so everything that you see is actually formed by your reticular activating system, your RAS. And so you can only attenuate to or process 40 bits of information out of those 11 million. So the question is, where does the other 10 million plus go? Well, it goes into what is actually now understood as your superconsciousness and your subconsciousness. We call it your other than consciousness, because in your conscious mind, you're actually only aware of 40 out of 11 million. So 10 million's going somewhere. Where is it going? Well, it's going inside, and it's forming part of what then makes up your dreams and what then mixes and confuses your memories and what actual beliefs that you have about life and other people and your future and whatever it is that you're doing, right? So pre-conscious processing means that you have decided about something before you're actually even aware of it. And we know that. So the truth is, when you watch a positive prime session and it's flashing in front of you, your pre-conscious processing is actually having these little very nutritious seeds get planted in your superconscious and your subconscious, but they're beneficial and they're advantageous to you. And we have a whole heap of aspects to it that deal with racial biases and gender biases and religious biases and all sorts of other controversial aspects. So what we're very good at doing is that which is universally wholesome, that which is representative of the vast numbers of us all over the world. And we have tens of thousands of people who use positive prime on a daily basis from all over the world, right? So admittedly, everybody's English speaking at the moment. But no, you don't need to actually be able to read it, but know that you're actually processing it, you're comprehending it. And if we were to test you, as we have done in some of our scientific research, we could actually prove to you that you can retain and recall that what you've learned, even if it was brand new content to you. But what happens with the speed, the variable speed, is we bypass the conscious critical judgment factors of your prefrontal cortex, which usually is what you use to resist anything that's new or unfamiliar or uncomfortable, right? So we have this natural way of being where we will have these resistances to anything that then continues to persist. So whatever you resist persists. But we also have this very strange way as human beings of protecting ourselves and our lives, right? So way back when our brains, the reptilian part of our brains were developed, anything that was new or unfamiliar or uncomfortable, we rejected, and we had to, because let's just say we didn't actually know whether that, imagine you're like caveman, you're out on the savannah and some animal's coming to you and you don't know whether that thing's going to kill you or not. You have to actually reject it in case it's going to kill you until you know whether it is or it isn't. So do you know, we haven't changed that much in millennia. We still behave like that as human beings. So if someone presents to you an idea that is fresh, sometimes, unless you've got other aspects that you've been conditioned with that you can make sense of that, you'll just reject it. You're just skeptical and cynical. So
if you can't,
if you believe you're a bad person and someone says to you, you're a really good person, you won't take that on board, no matter how many times someone says that to you, if you've got all of these other links to these ideas around how bad you are as a human being, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to see messages like, you are a really good person. Your future is going to get better. You need to see that as it's bypassing the conscious critical judgment factors of your prefrontal cortex, i.e. you need to see that at speed. at like speed 8, 9, 10, right, in our platform.
There we go. So we're going to play with this because I love watching them fast. Before I even knew that that was a good idea. I mean, I'm very time conscious and I love watching them fast. And for anyone who's been following my journey, a month ago, I stood on a TEDx stage that on a topic that I did not want to talk about. But I was using the positive prime sessions. And I was so calm that all of the other TEDx speakers in the group were like, why are you so calm? You know, what is different about you? And it took me a while to figure out that what was different was that I was using this flashcard system to bring it into something tangible. And it makes a huge, huge difference in how I show up. And I've got a story that's becoming famous, Kim, in that I started watching the Powerful Prosperity session, and I watched it for the first time the day after my TEDx talk. I was still in Las Vegas. My sister was meeting me at the casino because I was staying at one of the famous casinos on the Strip. And so that night we're downstairs, and all of a sudden I started hitting. Now, I had taken money that I could leave, the money I would normally spend on a hotel room. But since my sister gets me a comp room at the casino, I knew that was play money. And I had left it all in Vegas is what I thought. And all of a sudden on a 75-cent bet, this thing starts going and it starts re-triggering. And by the time it was done, I not only gotten back all the money I had invested, but I had doubled it. And the next morning, because I celebrated, the next day, it dawned on me, wait a minute, I'd watched this Powerful Prosperity session. And so I thought, So I watched that session again and met my sister in the casino that night. And I did what they tell you never do. I went back to the same machine. And I only took some of my winnings because I ain't crazy. And I put some money in the machine and I doubled my money again that night. And I thought, okay, now we have something that they say can't be done. Yeah. And it was just so hysterical because, I really don't care if I become a casino maven. That's not my goal in life. My goal is to help people, be able to retrain their brains in this whole conversation about mindset and, mindset reset and, coming into pure prevention. But I was so mind boggled by this because the only thing that I changed from the other 5 days I'd been in a casino with her was this session.
Yeah, well, see, if we had another couple of hours, I could explain to you what actually happens in the quantum field in terms of manifestation, right? But the truth is that I'm not surprised by that story and hundreds of others that I've heard like it. And it's not like we're condoning gambling or we don't think that responsible gambling is a mature thing to do or not do. No judgments there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that if you continue to watch that session, and it's a big, please.
Here comes the butt. I got it. Here comes the butt.
In the functionality that's available to you as a subscriber, you upload your own photographs of yourself and that which you're grateful for, right? So Jackie, just tell me, had you actually personalized that session? No.
Not yet. I
want you to go and personalize that particular session. And the reason why is
I took pictures of this massive win and coins flying over the computer screen of the casino machine. Yeah, and now I have personalized it.
Oh, you have? Okay, because see, when I talked about identity before, what happens when we see photographs of ourselves is that our other than consciousness starts to actually have those seeds that we've planted in the superconscious and the subconscious. They're now nurtured, they're watered. And so we actually can have, the acorns become oak trees. Our dreams can manifest a whole heap more efficiently and effectively. Our ability to achieve our goals, our ability to make the changes that we want to reside in a very, very deep knowing or belief that it's possible, right? And so we as human beings are fascinating. And if we see photographs of ourselves, or by the way, anyone that is meaningful or significant to us. So, and it has to be about joy and gratitude. So if you really appreciate a child, or you really appreciate a pet, puppy dog, or a pussycat, or a bird, or whatever, tortoise, whatever, right? Whatever is meaningful and significant to you, put those photographs in there. It will help the process.
I created a file folder on my computer for Positive Prime. I actually put it in my Dropbox. It has a 1 in front of it so I don't lose it. And I started curating all of the pictures of my life. And then it was really easy to upload them because they were scattered all over the universe of my world digitally. And so I had never thought to bring them together, all of these positive experiences, all of the trips that I've enjoyed, all of these wonderful things that made me take a picture of the waterfalls, because I'm a waterfall kind of girl. And now I've started curating them. Not only are they up in Positive Prime, but I can find them on my computer. So just as an exercise in celebrating your own life, I highly, highly recommend this. Now, I'm going to bring you back to this other question because there's a bunch of things going on. And Michael, who I know and love, wants to know, about how many sessions and how often a day and how many different sessions are the optimal to watch.
Whew, big question. I love the Michael. Thank you. Okay, so it depends if you're an A-type personality like me or not. So if I'm trying to have a breakthrough of my own, which is often, I will actually really be immersive. But I should probably kind of
immersive
get you up to speed.
Okay, immersive in one session?
No, do you know, I will actually watch one session 10 times, and maybe in the run time, because you can change. So it'll either deliver all 1,000 slides inside 3 minutes if you change it to 3 minutes in your run time, or it'll actually load in 1,000 frames within 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You can actually put it up to 60 minutes and it'll just spread it out, or it's like a concertina, right? So
an accordion in my language.
Yeah, like an accordion. Exactly, perfect. So I have a couple of sessions that really make me feel effervescent and make me feel like anything is possible and I can actually achieve it. And they're heavily personalized. So there's got lots of photographs in there of that which makes me feel like I've achieved some things before my past. Like I've got a photograph of me graduating from business school because that reminds me, I was not one of the best students on the planet. In fact, I was a bit naughty and I got involved in all the extracurricular activities. And so like I constantly had these like little taps on my shoulder, like, hey, Kim, you need to apply yourself. Anyway, but graduating for me makes me actually remind myself that I followed through and finished something, because at some stages it looked like I was going to be a dropout. And it took me a lot to get through that. I mean, it really did. So anyway, I have a photograph like that, and many others that are like that remind me that my life has actually already amounted to more than enough. Now, I'm going to tell you something really personal. About 7 months ago, I had a pacemaker implanted because I had a near-death experience where I was clinically dead. My heart had stopped. I need another hour to tell you all about the autonomic nervous system palaver and the journey. And that was my 6th cardiac arrest. I have a different view on life now than I did. Here's the bottom line though. A lot of the medical specialists and even all of the alternative and complementary practitioners that I've been to see over the last couple of months all have this common understanding that I've had the mental tenacity, the mental fortitude to actually get through that because I'm positively primed. So I have actually rebounded really rather amazingly well, and all of the systems in my body. So when your heart stops for more than 10 seconds and up to 20 seconds, it's really drastic. Things start to go wrong, like permanent kidney damage, permanent liver damage, permanent lung damage, permanent brain damage. But do you know I have no permanent damage? And I have a feeling it's because physically my body was prepared, positively primed to go through trauma. And I actually recovered, I actually healed and repaired my body because my mind and my emotions are so in sync. So when I say intense, this is the truth. In my 7 days in the intensive care area of the hospital, as I was going through this, I watched a lot of positive prime sessions. I'd be talking 10 or 15 a day. I would have them constantly flowing in front of me on an iPad or on a computer, and I allowed myself just to be completely flooded.
It's not like you could have done a lot else.
No, exactly.
Let's keep clear. We're talking about you're in ICU recovering from a surgery, right? So this is the perfect opportunity. And, I wish positive prime had existed. Oh my God. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I broke my ankle, had post-surgery, because they had to put me back together like Humpty Dumpty, with plate and 8 screws and all of this. And then I had a post-op infection. So I was laid up with a PICC line in my living room. And the only thing, the best thing I could find, I had a friend who had all of the Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes movies. And so that's what I watched through my recovery. Now, I had a full recovery, but I'm wondering now how wonderful it would have been if I could have had positive prime back then to speed me through this process. Because, Kim, the greatest gift that you have given me is not what I want in Vegas. It's the opportunity for me to create a positive prime session based on what I want to bring into the world. The stories that I want people to take in for themselves about not shoulding on themselves, not getting into where I think I should have done this or you should have done that. And so thanks to my students, that's the positive prime session that I'm creating. It's going to be called, it's not going to be called Leaving Shouldville. It's going to be called Believe in You. But it's based on those concepts. And I
quite like Leaving Shouldville.
All right, well then there we go, ladies. Okay, so for ladies and gentlemen, those of you who follow me, who are watching this, Leaving Shouldville is going to be a positive prime session. And there it is.
Yay. And we can also have, the strap line underneath, which is about really believing in yourself. One of the greatest, I suppose, gifts in my life is that I get to work with people like you, Jackie. So for those of you who don't yet know, in the Positive Prime platform, you actually have access to hundreds of what we call sessions. So each and every single one of them is like your own mini course in an accelerated learning format. And we have incredible people who have contributed. There's one on transcending trauma. There's one on dealing with loss and grief. There are many on health and fitness and weight loss and well-being and changing your diet and what you can do to actually generate more energy and heal yourself. But then we have a whole range like the one that Jackie was telling you about, which are about increasing your income and becoming financially free and being wise as you invest your money. And there's lots of different subjects or topics to choose from. And you could choose a different subject if you want every other day. I would recommend, though, that when you watch one new session, like for the very first time, you do watch it on a fast speed. So just press play, allow it to load. There is this wizardry that's happening in the background, and it's really quite incredible. And it's actually bringing down, and there's something we haven't discussed, but I really need you to know that it happens. Every single time you press play, even on the same session, it's reshuffled the deck of cards or the slides are in a different order. And that's because along with your name and your personal photographs, we're actually causing a neurogenesis and neuroplasticity effect. There is some expectation that maybe in the future we'll be able to do some scientific research around positive prime being a really effective tool in the rehabilitation for stroke patients, but we're not there yet, right? I have lots of lovely anecdotal stories. There is some really good evidence around reminiscence therapy for people with cognitive decline. So seeing photographs of yourself amongst the content actually does help with memories. That's another conversation for another day. But the point is that you want to be able to watch the session really quickly and have it actually load. The very next time you watch it, though, it's in a different order. And that's because we need for your brain to actually process messages that create new moonshots for you. So you can actually have out of the box thinking. It's more solutions orientated. It's more creative. There are lots of research studies actually on what happens in terms of this creativity. It's really exciting. It actually is fundamental to change, though. So transformation cannot occur to you if you actually consume content. You know, like I've had a book, I'll give you an example. I have a book that I absolutely love. I could read it. It's called Think and Grow Rich from Napoleon Hill. I could read it from cover to cover all the way through in the same order once a year, every year for 20 years. And I could actually have those messages just embed in my soul a little bit better, right? But if I saw all of those messages randomized, reshuffled, and I could see them on speed, I would actually absorb that information, and I have an ability to apply that information from an accelerated learning point of view a whole heap smarter. There are approaches these days that are incredible, but it requires this aspect of the actual software. So what does that mean in terms of suicide prevention and our own ability to manage our own anxiety and our own anger and frustration with life kind of sometimes not working out the way that we wanted to, or we've lost hope and so forth? Neuroplasticity will actually cause you to think about things differently. And often it's a change in perspective that's required in most of these situations where we're either stuck or we feel like we're falling. And so I can actually say to you, no matter what, the only thing you actually really need to do with Positive Prime is you need to press play and you need to allow it to load and you need to watch it. The rest of it is being done for you. Yes, it's more potent if you personalize it. You owe it to yourself and you're worthy and deserving of having it personalized so that you can actually maximize or optimize its potential in your life. But it works on you, to you, through you, with you, and all you've got to do is enjoy it. Just be relaxed and allow it to just transition in front of your eyes.
You know, that was the most amazing thing for me because I am such a doobie by nature. I am used to doing. And this morning when I clicked on, because I do watch at least one session a day, often 3 sessions a day, because I listened to the guidance and it said, you know, hey, it changes your brain for 6 to 8 hours. And I'm like, if I watch 3 sessions a day, I'm good. So, you know, this morning when I clicked on my session, I love the fact that I didn't have to do anything. In fact, I started having to add something to do. Okay, because I'm such a doobie. So now I've got this rocking board that I stand on when I do my Positive Prime sessions so that my body is engaged. And I know you've got the rebounder behind you because we had that conversation. So don't be afraid to add to this because, the body, mind, emotion, spirit, connection, getting all 4 aspects of you engaged in one moment is so powerful. So, all right, you're muted. So,
no, it is, isn't it? I was just totally agreeing with you. So, there's one thing I can't leave without saying, and so now seems like the perfect time. One thing that has really, really worked for me is that I drop into these quantum gratitude experiences where I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And it can't be an intellectualizing. It has to be here in your heart. And so imagine someone gave you something you really wanted and you really needed, and you'd go like, oh, and the relief, and you'd feel it in your body, and you'd like, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And sometimes now these days, no, actually often, I'll do this and I will presuppose that I've already received that which I desire or want or need. So I'll be like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you for helping me feel peaceful. Maybe I've been a bit agitated. Maybe I've noticed or become aware of that. And maybe I wish that I was actually just feeling a little bit calmer, a little bit more in control, centered and balanced, a little bit more peaceful. So if I drop into this, and it's almost like I'm speaking to God or my angels or my higher self or all of everything, and I'm like, thank you, thank you, thank you for helping me to feel more peaceful. And what that actually does is it starts to inform my reticular activating system, my RAS, as I was telling you before, right? And it actually makes me much more consciously aware of those 40 bits of information. And so when the opportunities or the potential arises in my everyday life for me to do something or be exposed to something that will help me feel more peaceful, I'm more likely to notice it, right? Now, you could do this with everything in your life, with every subject or topic. So like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for helping me to connect with really great people who are supportive. And guess what my RAS is going to find? Really great people who are supportive. I could do this like, thank you, 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 thank you for guiding me to the right advice. Thank you for helping me to make better quality decisions. Thank you for helping me to expose myself to that which is going to make me feel uplifted and inspired, right? So we get to figure out what it is that we really want and need. What is it that we desire? What is it would be cool or great or wonderful, right? And then so long as you can really be very, very genuine and sincere, really authentic, honest, and vulnerable in the thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the opportunities that make me feel like my spirit is soaring, right? You'll actually be invited to more and more opportunities that will make you feel like your spirit is soaring. The other very cool thing that I just am so excited for everyone to know. So for those people who become signature subscribers of Positive Prime, over the next couple of weeks, we're going through lots of upgrades and improvements, and we're going to see quite a lot very subtly changing to make it easier and nicer to navigate and so forth. But
I have noticed the increased speed of the sessions loading, and I am incredibly grateful.
And it's going to get even better than that. Thank you, Jackie. So we're actually going to be offering additional like mini courses in each and every single month as part of the actual subscription. So we're doing more and more to provide more and more value. You know, in a couple of months' time, you'll actually see some things that are being added that you'll have available to you if you're a signature subscriber, which makes it seriously worthwhile. And in case you didn't know this, I actually left the corporate world about 20 odd years ago, and I went back and I studied and I qualified as an osteopath and exercise physiologist. So we call them sports therapists in the United Kingdom. And I actually did my training in London. Even though I'm Australian, I'd been living there for many years and I'd been working there in the corporate world. Anyway, I then became known as the woman who invented hot stone massage, because I literally did invent hot stone massage and rolled it out globally in the spa industry. But it meant that I went to lots of health retreats all over the world, and I experienced lots of Eastern and Western and ancient and modern and scientific and spiritual, all of it, right? Really, 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 really incredible. Absolutely amazing. And it's the combination of all of that, which is why Positive Prime is so extraordinary. It's actually that it harnesses all of that into one tool. And I still go and see a chiropractor and pay $80 for a 15-minute session. And I do that relatively regularly, particularly now also with my own rehab. And I'll go and spend $110 on a massage that's remedial, really good physical therapy. And I have to, and it's part of my rehab. But the crazy thing is that I know scientifically positive prime in 3 minutes a day, available to me 24/7, is more incredible. And like at $20 a month or $19 a month, it's insane how much value it is compared to a chiropractic appointment or a massage appointment, right? It's just, it is actually astonishing.
I have to put a disclaimer out because on the suicide prevention show, we don't sell anything. So it's amazing at the free version, which is where I was for quite a while, watching the free sessions. Thank you, Bruce, because he gifted me sessions. And so you don't have to invest anything to get benefit from this software. So we're inviting you to test it out. If you notice that it improves your mood, it improves your mood. If you notice that it improves your health, hey, it improves your health. I mean, we can shout it from the mountaintops, but the reality is it doesn't matter what I've experienced, and it doesn't matter what Kim's experienced. What matters is what you experience. So give yourself the gift of experiencing it for yourself. And that's why we've got the link in the chat. The link is emotionalteflon.com. Why? Because we want you to be coated with emotional Teflon. We want you to have other people's opinions. We call them other people's judgments, opinions, and expectations. You'll like this, Kim. This is the elephant named Joe. Other people's judgments, opinions, and expectations, Joe. So when people are living their lives riding Joe, I think positive prime is the cure for that. I think that watching the Being Happier, watching any of the other sessions that they automatically have the credits to get just from getting this free session, I think this gives them the ability to get off of that elephant of other people's judgments, opinions, and expectations and start creating the elephant they want to ride, the one that they can ride all the way to the bank, in my language. So it's about getting rid of other people's judgments, opinions, and expectations and living your life from your own and being able to rewrite your own. Because let's face it, we've inherited a lot of judgments, opinions, and expectations that don't really belong to us. So I wanted just to make sure that people got this message. It's not about you have to spend any money. It's about this is yours because you're here. And that's important to me. So that's why I interrupted you. So thank you. So I'm going to put this back in the chat so that people can grab it and it will be in the show notes. So this is your free session and it gets you enough credits to buy a second session. Of course, I highly recommend Powerful Prosperity and Profitability by Kim Serafini. Don't know why I would say that, but it might have something to do with the casino.
You know what is really interesting? That anybody who creates a free account, Jackie, is going to receive your session, right, as a gift. And that is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful outcome, right? So you're absolutely right. They do not need to actually be subscribers unless they want to unlock it all for themselves, but they will be gifted with what you're contributing to the world, which is very important. That's wonderful. Do you know, I've actually just been reading a comment and someone has just said, could we hear about some of the stories about children who've been in really bad moods when they've woken up and their mum has effectively sat there and viewed a positive prime session alongside of them? I do actually have some really, really interesting stories that are emerging. We've got a couple of teachers who've gone through our professional certification program who are using it in the classroom and having children who have special needs be positively primed, and they have actually gone to the trouble or the effort of actually personalizing those for the children. So they've taken photographs of the children doing amazing things and they've actually uploaded those photographs. So it's really rather incredible. I can tell you, I've heard everything from children having complete meltdowns, psychotic episodes, children having rage experiences, being totally calmed down the minute that they were distracted by watching a positive crime session, right? So the science is it's really clear. I need to say it again. If I show you a range of Duchenne smiles, the retina in your eyes processes, sends messages to the mirror neurons, and hormonally you start to produce more serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. It happens. It just automatically, naturally, organically happens. It just happens, right? So if you are in a state where you're not feeling calmer or more joyful or cheerful or more optimistic or happier, all you need to do is be exposed to lots of those Duchenne smiles. The reality is that in our daily life, if we watch the news or any number of like scrolling through these social medias, we don't see hundreds of Duchenne smiles in the space of 3 minutes. And so our endocrine system is actually bombarded with what is technically referred to as negative priming. And it's no wonder we've actually got the experience of anxiety in our society. It's actually because the majority of us are deliberately negatively primed by the media, by the environments that we exist in. Now, I'm not saying that because I believe that the media are evil. I just know that if an advertiser tells you that you feel terrible and then says that my product is a solution, you're more likely to consume it. Their job is to make you feel terrible about yourself and your life and your prospects, right? And so
Madison Avenue.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah, this is sales 101. Probe the pain and then promise a better outcome. This is, I mean, this was all the long distance commercials back in the day. It is just a tried and true message based on neurolinguistic programming. And once you know that that's what media is, your brain can start discounting it. But until you start having a conversation around it, our brains have no filter. We take this on. And Kim, that's why it was like, oh my God, I have to interview on my show, because this is the message that the world needs to know, that they don't have to stay stuck, that they can change, and that it can be 3 minutes a day and effortless. Who knew?
And it's only going to get better. That's the interesting thing. The technology is advancing at such a rate that this is only going to become even more graceful, even more quick, even more exciting, even more powerful. Like, that's the really cool thing.
Well, I cannot thank you enough, Kim, for being willing to come on. And we'll have you back and to get the updates on a future session. And for this session, keeping with your language, it's the season. This is the Suicide Prevention Show, and there is nothing better for pure prevention than this, 3 minutes a day. I mean, that's what I was just hoping to be able to leave everyone with. So thank you. 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 Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you. And hang on, everybody. The ride gets more interesting from here.